Do you want me to say something funny or that makes me seem even more dumb than I am for your cold opener?
I'm going to go like this or like this if I need you to turn more, okay?
You're saying that this look here right now, this is not good for...
It's your Riker look.
It was a bit, wasn't it? Oh, TNG, it's everywhere.
Yeah, I think we should probably say something about the quality of the video in the Grimoires one as well, and how terrible that was. But we have improved things, so that's good. Just smile and nod.
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up for video going forward.
The sunshine doesn't like me.
Such as it is. All right.
Have I suitably embarrassed myself for your cold opener?
Yeah.
Just
it's great.
Things I do.
So, did you want to talk about the terms? Not terms and conditions. The terms and conditions of
Magick.
Of Magick, of which there are many. No, not terms and conditions. I mean, what do I mean? Terminology. And definitions and names and words and God, even that has so many different words and terms.
Like synonyms for synonyms.
God. So should we get into that?
Let's get into this because it's not a confusing area per se as far as I'm concerned, but it is a little bit.
Sorry for podcast listeners, that was me opening up my fizzy water. Apologies.
So unprofessional.
And I fizzed over the top of what you were saying.
You did. You fizzed all over me.
I'm really sorry. I'm just desperate.
No, it's fine. It is very hot in here. I was saying, so names, definitions, terminology isn't confusing, but is confusing. And by that, I mean, I'll start where I always start, with pop culture. So pop culture has kind of suggested to me that witches, warlocks, whatever we want to call them, sorcerers, magic is done in a number of different ways, but it's never really called anything different. It's magic. There's no kind of sub-classification of magic. It's basically someone scrinkles their nose and something happens. Someone points a wand, something happens. Someone mutters something under their breath, something happens. It's always like a kind of, the depiction of magic is you do a thing and something immediately happens that is visually available to everybody, which I know isn't really how it actually works. But there's never any kind of like, and they've done it this way because they are this type of witch or they're doing this type of magic. I think the closest pop culture that I'm aware of has got to it was actually Harry Potter, with the introduction of different types of lessons for different types of magic, and they got into herbology, for example, plants, use of plants in magic, potions and things like that. And from what I know of how magic is defined, that's a legit type of thing. It's not herbology, but like green magic or garden witches, hedge witches, whatever they're called. Hedge witches sounds like something completely different. But the use of plants in magic is an actual thing, and there's a name for it. There's a definition. Yeah.
Yes, I like whatever you said. What's a garden witch? I love that. I love that. I imagine some crinkly old bag that lives at the end of the garden. It's not it, no.
No.
Okay.
So now I'm thinking of Simon and the Witch, betraying my age again. She wasn't that crinkly. But
Did she live at the bottom of his garden?
No.
Oh, that is worth a Google, I'm sure, after this.
Anyway.
Right.
But no, not someone who lives at the bottom of the garden, like the Poddington Peas. They did live at the bottom of the garden.
They did.
I mean, but someone who uses plants, because there are different types of magic.
Yes,
yeah?
There are different types of magic.
And not all of them you need plants for.
No, absolutely not. But even the word magic, there are two kinds of that. So there's rabbits out of the hat magic.
Yes.
And
I thought you were going to tell me that actually, like, magic with a K, the kind of stuff that we've been talking about and that you write about and educate people in, has got a second definition. But no, the other definition is literally magicians. Okay.
So we're not talking about rabbits out of a hat and dogs out of a pan. And
card tricks, cutting people in half.
No, that's different. So that's stage magic.
Yes.
And the magic that we're talking about is magic with a K.
Yeah.
So, and you're right. There are so many different kinds of magic with a K that we can get into. So let's just start with garden witches.
Garden witches. Commoner garden witches.
Commoner garden witches.
Yeah. Your basic level.
So I think you got it right. Hedge witch.
Right.
Hedge witch is your commoner garden witch. No, they're not really. Because anybody can be a different kind of witch.
Right.
So did you want to talk about the different kinds of magic, or did you want to talk about the different kinds of witch? Should we start with the
all of it? All of it,
kinds of magic?
Yeah, okay, I feel like all of it is important.
Yeah.
And I want to get into as well later. We'll start with the different types of magic.
Yeah.
But you don't have to box yourself into one.
No.
You know, being a garden witch doesn't preclude you from being any other kind of witch as well. No. All right, cool. Let's start with the different types of magic then.
All right, so different types of magic. So let's start with ceremonial magic.
Okay, I feel like this is one that is depicted a lot in pop culture. So this is, performative is the wrong word, but it kind of feels like that's a reasonable description in that it's, how am I thinking? It's ceremonial in that there's lots of incantations, chanting. You might pop culture tells us that you'll draw something in a circle and you'll sit inside of it. You'll have loads of candles around you. But you have an altar. You'll be doing an action.
Ritualistic.
Yes, that's the word I wasn't using that I wanted to.
So yes, you're right. So ceremonial magic is what in the olden days they would call high, air quotes, high magic. Because that was the kind of magic that was okay. And then low magic, that was the kind of magic that was evil, and you would get rounded up and hung for that sort of thing.
So high magic, that's, I guess that would be in the olden days, the stuff that your kings and queens would be completely in favour of.
Yeah.
Like, again, pop culture depictions of ancient Egypt and things like that. They would use high magicians to tell them things or to enable things. Like the pharaohs would be all in on this.
So magic, so if you want to go all the way back, so magic back in those days, that was fine. They didn't distinguish between high magic.
It was just magic.
Magic was just, that's just the way life is.
So much more enlightened.
Exactly, right? And then along came monotheism and decided, oh no, magic's awful. Don't do that. In fact, you're not going to stop. You're still doing it? Oh, well, we'll make you stop then by rounding you up and we will kill you all. So monotheism was what decided magic was dumb.
Right.
And this kind of putting your hands together and saying some words, that's fine. But if you're gonna lay on the ground and do it to a full moon, that's
not
that's bad.
Put on some robes, swing some incense, say some words.
Fine. That's fine. Yeah. But put on some robes and light some candles on the floor. That's not. Yeah, okay. But can you see how ridiculous that is? So ceremonial magic, very much high magic, practiced in high society, in universities. Not practiced so much in universities, more like studied in universities, because that's kind of okay.
Okay, right.
But it's all robes and chants and, lots of oohing and ahhing.
Now we sound like we're talking about the pop culture depiction of ancient religion.
So ceremonial magic, very, very highbrow.
Yeah.
So much so
Latin.
Well, Latin was the thing, wasn't it? Latin was the language. It wasn't, because there were other languages that existed before European ones, but Latin was the language that kind of dominated at the time. All of the grimoires that we talked about last time, they were all written in Latin, blah, blah.
Yeah. Giles and Willow will be incanting in Latin.
Of course, yes.
That sort of thing.
High magic, ceremonial magic. Yes. So you will see ceremonial magic depicted more in things like Buffy and Charmed. But usually it's the bad guys that are doing the chanting with the robes and, because, evil from back in the day. Still drawing on that, it's all evil. But it's not. Well, depending on your point of view. Ceremonial magic was sort of brought into the forefront of society by a bunch of secret society types, the Freemasons and stuff like that. And then some people that were in the Freemasons set up their own religions, like the Golden Dawn, which in turn spun off into Thelema and then Wicca. And they sort of all took the bits of the ceremonial magic that they liked, did it for themselves and added in a bunch of other stuff, and nicked a load of stuff from other cultures and just whacked it all in and went, ta-da, ceremonial magic.
Religion analogy still feels like it's working right now.
Yeah, hella ceremonial. So you've got a couple of religions that immediately spring to mind, with the tall hats and the robes and the waving of the incense.
Oh, right, okay. Thank God.
So that religion... very big on ceremony. This, their worship sessions. What are they called? Where you go to the building? Yeah, whatever. You can tell I'm...
Like, you tried so hard not to name the religion and then said, what are they actually called? What do they do? Those Catholic people. What do they actually do?
I don't want to ruin people's religious choices in any way, shape or form. But so it's very similar.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, it's probably so offensive what I'm saying right now to the Catholic community, but it is. I'm sorry, I can't not draw those parallels.
That's, everything starts somewhere and it's born. And like you said, people steal from everyone else. They take the bits of this that they like, they take the bits of that they like, and they create something new. So it's understandable that there's elements of magical practice that are going to come from Catholicism, because people have grown up and generations have been through that. And religion was a big deal in years gone by than it is now. So yes, that makes perfect sense. It also makes perfect sense that ceremonial magic is the one that gets used on pop culture an awful lot, because it feels like it's very visual. I said performative earlier on, and I didn't mean it in a derogatory way, but I mean it in that it's something that you can see happening, and it's not I'll put some herbs in a potion or whatever. It's I'm chanting, there are candles, here's the thing, Willow's doing the spell, she's going to save the day, etc, etc.
Yeah
Cool. All right, so that's ceremonial magic.
And then you've got folk magic, the low magic, so
right.
The opposite of ceremonial magic almost. This is the sort of stuff that would be practiced in the village by the local, I don't know, herbalist or
garden witch.
You common a garden witch, yes. So they would live in the community. They would be practicing very simple charms, very simple spells, maybe curing some ailments, maybe getting into a bit of midwifery on the side.
So is this where like old wives' tales come from a little bit? Do you think, you know, the notion passed down through generations that this type of plant will help with this kind of ailment, that sort of thing? Ooh. If you put this on your skin because of X, something good, you know, I can't actually think of any old wives' tales, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it does come from that, and it also comes from the Picatrix, actually. There's sections in the Picatrix which talks about this plant is good for this bit of the body.
Right.
And so that was all drawn upon for folk magic. I mean, we call it folk magic. They just called it stuff what I do to make you feel better.
Medicine.
Medicine, exactly. That's it. That's the word.
Struggling with your overall. Considering we're talking about names, terms, and definitions, you're struggling with, like, you know, basic
wording.
Yeah.
I can't English good.
I'm looking forward to the rest of this one. All right. Okay.
So that's folk magic. The person. Mostly women, to be fair. I mean, there were men that could do this, but mostly women would be taught by their maternal figures in their family. This is what this is how you do it, blah, blah, blah. Which I think is quite possibly some of the reason why the Witchfinder General went in and started, you know, singling out women, apart from the Witchfinder General being an enormous misogynist. Just made it easier that it was women that was doing this abhorrent thing of helping people. How dare they? Oh, how dare they? But that's probably a whole different podcast. all about the Witchfinder General. So folk magic, opposite to ceremonial magic in that, well, mostly practiced by women, mostly done in the village, no robes involved. You didn't need any of that garbage.
In your kitchen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So ceremonial, folk, high, low.
Yep.
That's not it though, is there?
No. No, there's other stuff. Astral magic. Stars, planets, the zodiac, sun, moon, what is going on up there. That's the kind of stuff that we practice here at Magenta. Astral magic, which is about using the correspondences that come from astrology and timing magic. Astral magic requires a fair bit of patience, so not well depicted in pop culture, because it would be really boring to sit and watch Willow flipping through going, okay, so when is the moon in Aries? Let's have a look at that. Okay. And then how does that moon now make a nice angle with a different planet? Oh, well, that's not going to happen for another 18 months. That's not gonna work.
Sorry, Giles, we can't stop the apocalypse because we've got to wait 18 months.
Exactly, for the planets to be in alignment,
Yeah, okay, so that's not great.
It's not great, no. But it's the kind of magic that I prefer, that we talk about at Magenta, astral magic. It's that weird intersection, if you imagine a Venn diagram between astrology and magic, and we're in this little sliver here, right in the middle. So we kind of annoy both camps of people because quite a lot of magical practitioners just want to throw some herbs in a pan and bish bash bosh, it's done.
This,
that's my thing.
Oh, exactly. You turned into a frog. Whoops, it was the wrong one.
And then astrologers get equally frustrated because you have to be choosy with what alignments you're going to pay attention to. To be honest, if you paid attention to absolutely everything that is going on up there, there would never be a good time to do any of this. There'd be no time at all. So you do have to kind of look at what the planets are doing, how they're aligning, where they are in the sky, and then if there's something going on over here with Saturn or Mars, poor Saturn and Mars, they usually get blamed for everything in astrology. They're really not that bad. But that's something that astrologers would be like, oh, but Saturn's doing this thing and that's going to impact
on... So you can't do that.
Yeah, you can't. It's like,
so no. It's never a good time. Just get on with it.
Yeah. So with astral magic, you do kind of look at that and go, well, I don't need Saturn or Mars to be doing anything in particular, so I'm okay to ignore it. And sorry, astrologers, I know you're shaking your fist at me right now. I'm sorry. Sorry, magicians, I know you are shaking your fist at me right now for having to wait and plan. This is why astral magicians, they piss everybody off.
Okay.
But it is what it is. But that's the kind of magic that we practice here.
High, low, astral.
Yeah.
That's not it, is it?
No. There's this new kind of magic that's coming through and has been coming through since the 70s-ish, called chaos magic. This is the kind of magic I can really see you getting on board with, actually. I'm an astral witch. You, I would imagine, being more with the chaos side of things. Now, it's not like there are no rules to follow. You can just do whatever you want. That's a different kind of magic. Chaos magic is, how best to describe it? It's where there is no absolute truth.
Right.
And it's kind of like you create your reality so you can change it. To put it in a pop cultural way.
Yes, please.
There is no spoon.
Oh, okay.
So that's chaos magic. Now, chaos magic you might see symbols and weird sigils and things on walls and stuff, and that's what that is all about.
I see. Keeping it in a pop culture way.
Yeah.
So Marvel have kind of delved into that a little bit recently with what they've done with Wanda and the Scarlet Witch and stuff, and they kind of tried to. That character is now in charge of chaos magic or whatever, certainly that came out of the TV show element. And there were lots of symbols and there were lots of sigils and runes, which I know are problematic, so we're not going to get into. But it was also presented as something not really controllable and sort of a power beyond. And obviously because it's a superhero franchise, they're going to make these things as dramatic and as fantastical as possible. But that doesn't fit with the there is no spoon kind of pop culture sort of way of looking at it. So it's not that there aren't rules, it's more that there are a variety of different ways to look at the same thing to kind of come out with what you want to get to.
With chaos magic, there are no rules.
There are no rules.
No, there's no material world. There's no ethereal world. There's no absolute truth. Just abandon all of that. It's really hard.
Wow.
It's really hard.
I see why you think I would like that.
It draws very heavily on psychology as well. So the psychology behind the reality isn't real, and actually it's just a construct of your own consciousness. That is chaos magic. There is no spoon. You can do what you want. Like
lucid dreaming.
Oh, that's a whole different podcast episode.
But I mean in the sense that
yeah.
So in lucid dreaming, you can take greater control of the dream itself, and you can bend it to how you want it to work and what you want to do in it and things that happen.
Yeah.
Because you're aware that it is a dream. You're aware that the reality is malleable. So it kind of sounds like chaos magic is actually that inner awareness that what is happening is mostly of your own construct and therefore is malleable, and you can make it bend the way you want it to.
Yeah.
Not in a fantastical Marvel sort of way necessarily, although who knows. Actually that kind of thing. Yeah, I can see why you think I would like that one. All right, that's not it though, is it?
No, it's not. So you also have sympathetic magic, which sounds really cute.
Aww.
Yeah, this is relying on the correspondences between things. So, for example, if I wanted to cast a spell to repel you from me, I might I might create an effigy of you, like a drawing, or make a doll of you, make a puppet. I might take bits of you, like your hair, fingernails. I wouldn't touch your toenails though.
I wouldn't.
No. So, and attach those to the effigy, the drawing or the symbol that represents you. Those correspondences are, because I want to repel you and I've used bits of you, that effigy is now you. That puppet is you. And I might set fire to it. That would repel you.
Damn right it would. I'm not sure I like this one as much as
but it can be
magic.
used. It can be used.
Doesn't sound very sympathetic either.
That's just one example. You can just flip it. You can use it for the opposite of that. You can use it to attract. So if I wanted you to be attracted to me, I would make an effigy. Get your personal your personal bits.
My hair and my toenails and the like, yes.
Yeah, and attach it, and then I might roll it up, and I might keep that effigy with me at all times, so that you are with me.
Should have led with that, setting fire to me. Good grief.
What can I say? I like burning stuff.
Wicker man. All right.
So sympathetic magic. Yeah.
Okay. There are more.
Well, I'm toying with the idea of a new definition.
A new definition.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is something that I've been kicking around in the back of my head for maybe 7 or 8 years. But I think I'm calling it humanistic magic.
Humanistic magic.
Yeah, because it's based on humanistic psychology, so all the stuff that Maslow did,
right,
with his triangle of needs.
Hierarchy of needs.
Hierarchy of needs, exactly. So you have heard of it.
I have heard of it.
But for anyone who's new to Maslow back in the 40s, 50s, created, basically it looks like a pyramid with basic needs like food, shelter at the bottom, and it goes up in increments until the apex of the pyramid is something called self-actualization, which is, in psychology, your full potential. You have achieved your goals in life. There's nothing more that you need or want, basically. Wouldn't that be an amazing place to be? Exactly. And all the bits in the middle are things like, I want to feel protected, I want love, I'd like money, please, and it goes up in stages. Maslow believed that people had to have had the needs met before they could almost graduate to the next thing.
Okay.
Which is, I can see why you would think that, because we're always chasing the next thing as people. We have our thing, right, great, I've got my water, I've got my house, I've got my basic needs met. I now want the next thing. Yeah. I'd like some money, please.
I want some pictures for my walls.
Exactly. And it's always striving onwards to the next thing. So humanistic magic, I think, draws on those ideas as the objective for magic. So in the sympathetic magic, that was all about, I want someone to love me. I want you to be attracted to me, because my Maslow need is love.
Right.
And that's where I think that humanistic magic comes in. It's not a thing that, it's not the process. It's not like the practice itself, but it's what drives the behavior behind why are you mixing a spell or a potion? What is it your objective is? Now, other people who are not magically inclined might choose counselling to achieve a goal, especially around self-confidence or public speaking or whatever it is. They might choose a process that's more around behaviour, cognitive behavioural therapy to get over some stuff. Instead, I use magic to get over some stuff. And I think that that's a thing worth defining, worth putting out there in the world, just to see, is this a thing? I think it's a thing. So it's a thing.
Well, why not?
Yeah.
Why not create a new one? People do that all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is hilarious. So back to the chaos magic. When I came across chaos magic, obviously you think, oh, what is this rather tattooed individual doing? Just drawing some sigils on a wall. Oh, they're doing chaos magic. Let's Google that. When you Google it, the wiki page describes it as an invented religion. And I just thought, aren't they all aren't they all invented? What a weird way to really segregate magic in this corner. Yeah, it's as if you can go digging in a field and happen upon a rich well of Catholicism. it's just
naturally occurs.
Yes, no, they're all invented.
Obviously.
They're all invented. So yeah, absolutely. Stuff gets invented all the time. Why not this?
All right.
Why not?
Exactly. No, that sounds really good, and it kind of makes sense as you describe it as well. So humanistic magic.
Yeah.
It's the future.
Do you want to talk about the different witches?
Yep, absolutely. I want to know how cool a garden witch is. I want to know about other types of witches. I want to know how they relate to the different types of magic that we've just talked about. And I'm sure there's other stuff to do as well.
Yeah. Oh, there's a whole ton of more, what are they, definitions? Words. I can't word well today. But anyway.
Fine. It's not essential for a podcast. All right, so different types of magic. No, different types of witches. We've done different magic. Sorry.
We've done different magic, and I'm sure there's stuff that I'm missing. By all means, let us know.
Please feel free to do your own research.
Yeah, do please tweet me. I'm always on the Twitter. Anyway.
Witches.
Ceremonial witches.
Okay. So, feels like there's a very direct line from ceremonial magic.
So ceremonial witches are, as you might expect, really big on the chanting and the robes and the yeah, totally. I am going to put it out there. I would suggest ceremonial witches probably do better as a group. That's not to say that if you're by yourself, you can't be a ceremonial witch. I'm not saying that at all. But ceremonial witches, ceremonial magic, kind of relies on the effort of the group to raise the energy.
Okay.
You know, you're all doing the chanting. You're all with your robes and your whatever.
So is that a coven or is that just a collective?
Well, it could be. I mean, they're just labels. Yeah, sure, a coven. Why not? It could be a coven of 30 people. It could be a coven of 3 people. But just, I think that why you would want to practice ceremonial magic is because you want to bounce the energy off each other. It's not that you can't raise your own energy. You can. But I'm just saying, I think they probably blend more together.
Do you think that also links back to kind of like the performative element of it, in that, you know, what's the point of performing if there's no one there to see it?
Exactly.
Right.
So you've got your ceremonial witch, you've got hedge witch.
Garden witch. Hedge witch.
She lives in the hedge. No, she doesn't. But what a hedge witch is probably more interested in is using plants and herbs in their folk magic.
Yeah.
But it's not to say a hedge witch can't practice ceremonial magic. Of course they can, but a hedge witch probably fits neater to that kind
it's
of
like
folk.
the remedies that we talked about, the old wives' tales.
Exactly.
Put some of this in your tea.
Sure.
Eat
right?
your greens, you'll get hairs on your chest. I thought of one.
Sure.
All right.
And then, like hedge witches, you've got green and blue witches, which WHICH are witches are that use the natural environment in their magic. So, like a hedge witch uses plants and herbs and such, a green witch would use plants and herbs and such. A blue witch might use more water or incorporate the element of water in their practice a fair bit more. Sometimes they're called sea witches, which just brings minds of what's her name in that Disney movie? Ursula, yes, exactly. Ursula the Sea Witch. So she is a blue witch. She's using the ocean.
Is she though? I feel like she's in the ocean. I'm not sure she uses the ocean, but okay, fine. I get where you're going with it. Okay.
So green, blue witches, very much attuned to the natural environment like a hedge witch, practicing quite possibly folk magic. But again, you can have overlaps with all the different stuff. Cosmic witch.
Astral magic?
Yes, exactly. Astral magic. So very much aligning with what the planets are doing. Can they still practice with herbs? Yes, of course they can. Which is stuff that I do. So
yeah, because you do, because with the astral magic, it's around the sort of the alignment of the planets and the stars and time of day and stuff. So you do your garden witch, herb witch, folk magic. Already forgotten the terminology for the folk magic, the herb based, the plant based magic at a certain time based on your astral magic to maximize the potency or get the right type of outcome you want from the spell you're casting or the potion that you're making. Yeah, that's Am I joining those dots correctly?
You are absolutely.
Look at me learn and grow.
You're right. So a central tenet of astral magic when you want to go out and forage for stuff is using the planetary hours and the planetary days. So, for example, you would on a Monday go out in the hour of the moon to go and get some moon plants, poppies, for example, even cabbage, lettuce, stuff like that, all stuff that the Picatrix tells us, and something called Culpeper's Herbal, which is another dude, wrote another book many years ago, tells us have got these certain properties that will help with these certain ailments because they correspond with the moon. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. So for me, going out and foraging for stuff to use in magic, it's all timed. And yeah, that's what a cosmic witch would be more interested in, I would argue. Whereas a hedge witch or a green witch doesn't matter to them. They'll just
whenever.
Yeah, they'll just go and get some dandelions. It's fine. Whereas I'd be very conscious. It's not Thursday.
It's not dandelion day.
I can't get my dandelions on a Sunday. That's not going to work.
So that kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier on about why that kind of magic isn't really embraced by pop culture.
Yeah.
Because of the waiting.
Yeah, exactly. Sitting there waiting for Willow to go get some rosemary or whatever, and you're like, it's not the time. Sorry, missed it.
Okay. All right, so hang on, let me recap. Ceremonial witch, hedge witch, green and blue, cosmic.
Yes.
That's not it though.
No, it's not. There is something called an eclectic witch, which is sort of
like I'm doing all of them.
Yeah. It's a smoosh of all things that might be ceremonial witch like. It might be astral witch like or cosmic witch like. Equally, it could be none of these things. It could just be something more like chaos magic, using more of the psychology and the sigils and things like that, all mixed in with, well, I might just chuck some basil in there as well, and I might
for flavour.
Yeah, exactly. I might moosh all of this together and then down the hatch.
So there's no witch specifically named, like defined, that would be specifically practicing chaos magic.
Yeah, that would just be a chaos witch.
That would just be a chaos witch.
Yeah.
So there isn't any kind of... All right. So not the Scarlet Witch, as Marvel would have us believe.
That feels made up.
Yeah. Isn't everything? I thought we've already ascertained.
So you'll get a green witch and a blue witch, but no scarlet
no orange witches or purple witches.
Not that I've come across.
Okay. All right. Although, why not? If you've created humanistic magic as a
Sure.
label, you could create a witch label as well.
Can, yeah.
Yeah. The polka dot witch practices humanistic magic. Doesn't feel serious. All right. So an eclectic witch can just do all of it.
Yeah.
Basically.
A very mishmash approach. That probably makes it sound like I'm dismissing it. I'm not. It's a great way to start to try things out.
Find who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a little bit of everything. What are you drawn to? What kind of thing do you want to end up doing? And as we said, being a hedge witch doesn't mean you can't be a blue witch or a cosmic witch.
Sure.
It's just if you specialise.
Yeah. That's it, exactly.
Yeah.
If you choose to specialise in herbalism, then great.
Yeah, like doctors specialise.
Sure.
So they've had all of this medical training. They could probably give you a reasonable opinion in certain areas, but their speciality is whatever they've chosen.
The science community really loves being used as an example in all of this magic stuff. They won't have a problem with it at all.
Well, I think we've said already. I think there's conversations to be had around psychology and magic and stuff. There's conversations to be had around science and magic because it's not. While the science community may look down its nose upon the magical community, there's actually more crossover than you would think, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm probably going to inflame a lot of doctors out there, but where did all of those pills come from? Nobody just dreamed them up. They originate, the source material is often a plant or something that exists in nature.
Yeah.
And then obviously they're synthesized now and we can just take them in a pill form. But ultimately the stuff that cures the thing that's wrong with a person, there is a plant that exists for that.
Yeah.
You just don't.
We haven't created chemicals.
Well, some people have.
Oh, but I mean, sorry, we haven't created elements. I'm betraying my lack of scientific knowledge now.
No, you discover them, don't you?
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean.
You smoosh them together.
Yeah, you don't go around saying, "Oh, I need this type of thing. It doesn't exist, so I'm going to make it." As elements, obviously. Whatever. I'm losing my coherence. All right, I've completely lost my train of thought with that. Science has distracted me. Damn you, science.
That's what it wants you to do.
No, that's what I was going to say as well. That back in the day, in the olden days, many years ago, older even than we are, a lot of what we now term as being science would have been seen as being magic because there was a lack of understanding around it. People were perhaps fearful of some of these things because they didn't understand what it was. But now our knowledge has increased, our awareness has increased. Actually, we see this is based on it's fact stuff. So actually, a lot of what we're talking about now, in years to come, the scientific community might not be sticking, 2 fingers up at or looking down its nose at, because we know more about how things work and the power of X and all of this stuff. And so actually they might take things, see the benefit more.
You never know. And on the flip side, back in the day, science was magic and magic was science. There was no distinction between the two. I think quite possibly with the discovery of what the planets do in the sky and the way they, all move around the sun, and, the Earth isn't the centre of everything. I think when science people worked that out, they kind of had a long, hard look at themselves and thought, so it's all garbage, and just kind of swept it away, which is really, really sad, because there are real world applications for some of this stuff. Absolutely. We talk a lot about psychology. Herbalism, there are still cultures, rightly, that aren't really interested in Western medicine because it's not in their culture, and equally Western people might pay an awful lot of money to go to the local Apothecary, that guy. Apothecary place, or have somebody, rub some stuff on them or give them a bag of mushrooms.
Yeah.
The right kind of mushrooms.
Even acupuncture is still seen as a...
Sure, yeah. And people pay a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
But it's not really taken seriously by science, but it exists. It's a thing.
So I reckon there's probably a bigger conversation to have around all of that, around like the psychology of magic and things as well. I've deviated you again. Sorry.
That's all right. We can get it back, because the medicine side of the bits and pieces that we're talking about, like the words connected to magic. So for medicine magic, you might talk more around elixirs and tinctures and potions, potentially. So you could go to a herbalist out in the shops or whatever and pick up a tincture or a potion. That's legit.
All right. We have to roll back slightly.
Okay.
What is the difference between a potion, an elixir, and a tincture?
Right. Okay.
Is that not just the same thing with 3 fancy names?
Yes and no. Annoyingly.
Magic.
Yes and no. So a potion is something, it's more like a liquid spell.
Right.
So somebody has done some stuff and made it like liquid. Maybe it's herb infused water. They've maybe blessed it or said an incantation connected to it. A potion doesn't have to be consumed, though. So you can create a potion that's, to ward off stuff. And you might rub that potion on the front door, say, for argument's sake.
Okay.
Maybe you've been burgled too many times. You don't want that. So you might create a potion, smearing it on the door, and ta-da, that's your potion. But you might not put things in that you could consume, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So a potion can be consumed, but
doesn't have to be.
Okay. Yes. An elixir is nearly always consumed. So you wouldn't put poisonous plants in an elixir and then give it to someone. That's wrong. You're going to end up in trouble if you do that. So don't do that. So an elixir is more for healing. It's a spell that might, relieve the symptoms of a cold. Lemsip. It is an elixir.
Is an elixir.
It is.
They should really put that on the box.
They should. So again, a liquid spell that's more geared towards healing, nearly always consumed.
Okay.
A tincture is a liquid spell, but the liquid, I'm going to say over 50% alcohol. So
cool. All right. So wait, hang on. No,
yeah.
I thought I was getting all excited. Like you'd put 50% of your tincture was rum or something. That's not what you mean.
Well, yeah, sort of. It would have to be a high proof. I mean, you wouldn't put cider, baby sham.
2020. Yeah, okay. Now we're just listing alcohols.
So it's a high proof. Vodka is good because that's clear. You could have Bacardi, I guess. Clear liquid, high proof. And then you would add some distilled water to that. So your tincture might be 80% vodka and 20 20% water in the bottle. So within that, you might add herbs to that. You might, again, say an incantation. It can be consumed. It's going to be gross, but it can be consumed. More than likely, you're going to get your tincture and it's going to be applied to a bandage or something that you then apply
like an ointment.
You. Yeah, but it's made of vodka, so it's not creamy. It's wet. Live vodka is wet. And you might soak it in the cloth and apply it to a wound.
Okay.
Yeah, so tincture. And you might wrap the bandage around yourself.
All right. So that is that born from like the folk magic?
Yeah, it would be. Folk magic, absolutely. A little bit of sympathetic magic because you're using the correspondences in the magical practice. So you might use something that is going to clean your wound. You like star anise has got antibacterial properties in it. So you might crush some of that and put that on there. Ginger is good. That's an anti-inflammatory. So yeah, those correspondences connect with sympathetic magic, folk magic, hedge magic, whatever.
You really want to call it garden magic now?
Garden magic.
I've ruined it for you.
Yeah, that's the other thing we didn't talk about. We didn't talk about kitchen witches.
Kitchen witches.
Yeah, how could I forget the kitchen witch?
So, is that a witch that it's through food?
Food, drinks, yeah. All of this tincture, elixir stuff, that's right up their street.
So like a grandma, when you go to see your granny and you come home 2 stone heavier because she won't stop feeding you.
I guess if the objective was to do something magical and not because she's, I don't know, trying to fill that void with empty nest syndrome.
Eat your feelings. Yes, all right. Yeah. So slightly less flippant, but not much less flippant. And a more recent pop culture reference would be the film Encanto, Disney's movie Encanto, where one of the magical powers that a person has is the ability to heal through food.
Yeah. Kitchen witch.
Kitchen witch.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's like all the different kinds of liquid spells and the witches. There are more things to talk about than just the kinds of spells because you can get into other objects. So amulets. What is an amulet? What is a charm? What is being charmed? All of this stuff.
Not the TV show. All right, and so tools for... Are you now getting into tools for magical practice?
Stuff, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that less about a specific object, but more what the object is used for?
Yeah, so amulets can be worn, so it can be a necklace, it can be a ring, and if you have charmed an object like an amulet, then that's the only job it does. It does the thing that you've asked it to do.
It can't do anything else.
No.
Magically. I mean, it could have practical about the house uses, but not magical ones.
I guess. Yeah, so there are just so many different tools and the words that people just kind of throw out there as if everyone understands what they are. It does feel overwhelming. I can certainly see why people would get confused by it.
Yeah, and I guess that sort of thing I would have associated with ceremonial magic, probably wrongly, but because of pop culture, because of what we see there, it's sort of like you undertake ceremonial magic to enchant a thing, like an amulet or something, which is then used, like you could place it on someone, for example, if you want to control them or be aware of where they are. I don't know. Pop culture's not great at, ethics. But that kind of thing, is that right, or is that just more pop culture lies?
No, it's they're not lying to you. Yes, you can charm an amulet and then that object does that thing. That bit is true.
But charming,
you do see that.
Yeah, but you can charm it without doing ceremonial magic.
You can. Yeah, you can just decide. You might say an incantation, which, if we're going to define what an incantation is, those are just the words that you say over something. That's what makes it. And you can make up your own incantation, right? God, you don't have to go and delve back through the history and get yourself a Latin phrase. No.
You can. It's something that's meaningful to you.
Yeah, definitely.
And to what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah,
doesn't even have to rhyme, right?
No, but I like it when it does.
This sounds something.
I like rhyming. It makes it easier to remember if you're rhyming it. But yeah, no, it doesn't have to rhyme at all. No, it absolutely does not have to be in Latin. Just be in the language that you are comfortable saying. That's all I would say. So yeah, you say your incantation. It works better if you create your own. Obviously, there are like 1,000 million gajillion books and websites and stuff that have spells. Magenta also have spells. For people that are really just starting and maybe don't have that confidence to be able to make up their own book, I assure you, one day you will be making up your own. Absolutely. It's kind of
like we were saying with eclectic witches, for example, where you're sort of taking a little piece of everything to find your way, making it personal, making it about your journey, your, what you want to achieve from the magic.
Yeah.
So that's why your incantation is personal to you to develop what the outcome you want from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we're getting into the psychology almost as well.
Okay.
So absolutely using words that mean things to you to do a thing that means something to you is drawing heavily on your own psychology.
Okay.
Yeah, but we can get into
we'll get
that.
Into that another time. So that time. Also, yeah, because I guess that kind of, does that bleed into the chaos magic element a little bit about the kind of, the malleableness of your environment and how you control things the way you want them to be and using the words and the language and the stuff around you that's personal to you to drive change or an outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so we don't have time to get into that on this show particularly, on this episode, but
I kind of wonder, thinking about that, and we will get into this, I think, because it's, starting to, synapses are flaring and things. I want to ask lots of questions.
Okay.
It's almost like behavioural magic in a way, which wasn't a definition that we talked about earlier on. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but it's kind of like, psychology and how you do all of this sort of stuff. Behavioural magic is it using the various different bits that we've talked about and the bits that are most personal to you to drive change, personal development, growth, outcome, success, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So like humanistic magic, behavioural magic kind of feels like almost like a catch-all term for your personal use of whatever form of magic, whatever type of witch you might want to be.
Yeah, so there is certain elements that you could categorize of psychological magic, absolutely. And certainly where it's more for yourself, that's probably where that would sit. Humanistic magic is probably more about society.
Okay.
And the community as well as yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. I feel like I just made up behavioural magic, but I'm pretty sure I haven't. I'm sure that is a thing. And also to clarify, by that I don't mean, controlling the behaviour of other people like pop culture would have us believe we can.
Oh, God, yeah. That's a whole show all about ethics.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think we might be heading down that road about ethics of spell casting and use of magic, as well as psychology and overall behavioural elements.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Again, I feel like I've learned a lot. I feel like pop culture hasn't maybe lied to me quite so much.
Not so much in
this time, so that's okay. But yeah, so it's not just a witch is a witch. It's not just magic is magic. There are different forms of magic that work in slightly different ways. High magic, low magic. We talked about what the patriarchy, let's be honest, deemed acceptable in the past versus what it frowned upon and how it persecuted people for that. Folk magic, hedge witches, not garden witches. So I do like garden witches. There's different types of witches practice different types of magic, but being one kind of witch doesn't mean you can't practice lots of other types of magic, because you are a cosmic witch in practice, astral magic, but you also practice folk magic, so there's an element of being a hedge witch, Herbie witch. Herbie Does Magic. That's a film I never saw. A hedge witch, green witch, an eclectic witch, a little bit of everything. Humanistic magic for how it all impacts society and you. So yes, there's loads of stuff. So it's not just magic, it's magic.
No, that's it, exactly. So to your point earlier about the Scarlet Witch.
Yes.
You suggested that perhaps she was practicing chaos magic there.
Marvel tells me that's what she's doing.
So what do you think about Willow? What kind of witch would you describe her?
I'd say Willow's an eclectic witch because she, obviously for performative reasons, for the visual reasons of being on a TV show, she practices ceremonial magic. It's quite high magic with the incantations and the form in which they are casting spells, but there's a lot of herbology in there as well. There's a lot of use of plants and things and various other bits. There's not so much of the cosmic or the astral stuff that we talked about for the reasons we talked about. It doesn't play out well on a TV show where you've got to sit and wait for Jupiter to be in the right place to do whatever. So I would say she was an eclectic witch.
What about the charmed ones?
I don't know. Really, I don't know.
They are difficult. And I would go so far as to say they're warriors. It's less about which they are. They're fighting the baddies like every week. Occasionally you might see Piper in the kitchen as a kitchen witch, but yeah, the rest of it is all a bit. They're just checking a book of shadows for the demon of the week, and then they're kicking its ass.
Occasionally they scry to try and find something.
Yes,
it's over there. Cool. Let me just check the book of shadows. It's that one. Brilliant. And then I will go there and do whatever power I have been granted. So I'll fire bolts out of my hands, or this guy will make me disappear, or whatever. I don't know. I didn't watch that show as much as you did, but it does feel more like they don't really fit this kind of.
That's because it's not a practice for them.
No,
it's a thing that they. I don't know. They are so hard to figure out, which is why I probably feel the way I do, that actually that they're less, although the show is all about them being witches, they're only witches by the virtue of some, powers that they have. They're more warriors, soldiers.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the right word. It's not a path they've necessarily chosen for themselves.
Yeah.
Boo, Charmed.
I love Charmed.
I know you do. All right, thank you.
No problem. Right, that's it. That's our show. So that's it. That's our show. If you liked it, give us a rating and review, share with others, tell your friends. You'll find all our contact stuff over at magentaschoolofmagic.com, including our social media and links to the Magick School itself.